Following the footprints in Texas, Marcus Moore on the dinosaurs.
Tonight, a historic drought revealing the astonishing steps from a prehistoric past.
Could humans and dinosaurs have once shared the same Earth at the same time? It sounds impossible, yet across the globe, strange evidence is surfacing that challenges long-held beliefs about our ancient past. From mysterious carvings etched into ancient stone to fossils dated far outside their expected timeline, these clues are too compelling to ignore. In this collection of 25 astonishing discoveries, forgotten artifacts, puzzling footprints, and prehistoric puzzles hint at a story lost to time. One quiet riverbed in Texas may even hold the literal imprint of an untold chapter. Are these mere misinterpretations or echoes of a history we've overlooked? Riverbed Riddles of Texas. In the quiet riverbeds of Paluxy River, Texas, an extraordinary discovery sparked decades of debate. Footprints of what appeared to be giant humans walking alongside dinosaurs. These tracks, embedded in sediment layers of a dried-up riverbed.
I'm here at Dinosaur Valley State Park in Texas, and just a remarkable sight here. These are dinosaur prints that
have fueled theories that humans and dinosaurs may have coexisted, defying the conventional scientific timeline. Enthusiasts point to the realistic size and shape of the human-like footprints.
Following the footprints in Texas, Marcus Moore on the dinosaurs.
Some located directly beside or even overlapping dinosaur tracks, as compelling evidence of a shared prehistoric past. For supporters, this discovery represents tangible proof of a forgotten era, when giants and dinosaurs roamed the Earth together. The scientific community, however, remains deeply divided. Many researchers have dismissed the human tracks as either misidentified or, at worst, hoax carvings by someone seeking attention or controversy. Nevertheless, many continue to be captivated by the Paluxy River tracks.
Various tracks have been discovered around the state park in Glen Rose, Texas, but one is causing a big roar.
And they serve to stimulate exploration into what we accept as established facts. Whether they are real or simply an artifice, their mystery is a symbol of the continuing struggle between mainstream archaeology and alternative theorists, while leaving visible evidence of how much is yet to be inferred about humankind's ancient past. Footprints are just the beginning. What's coming next could flip the fossil record on its head. Triceratops time twist. A groundbreaking and controversial discovery was made in Montana in 2012 when a Triceratops brow horn was reported carbon dated to around 33,500 years ago. This finding shocked many because Triceratops is widely believed to have gone extinct 66 million years ago, with no overlap with human history. According to the conventional timeline, dinosaurs lived in the Mesozoic era, far outside the detectable range of radiocarbon dating, which is only reliable up to about 50,000 years. However, this horn, along with other dinosaur and ancient fossil samples from the Mesozoic and Paleozoic eras, were found to contain measurable amounts of radiocarbon, raising profound questions about the age of these fossils and the assumptions behind standard dating techniques. Many critics refer to it as one of those hackneyed arguments, claiming that contamination could explain the presence of radiocarbon in such ancient techniques. Researchers involved in the study tend to oppose claims like those by declaring that such rigorous testing has been performed in laboratories around the globe, and concurrence among the results presupposes something beyond mere error or interference. Were such assumptions proven, extinct taxa such as the Triceratops could potentially have lived far more recently than mainstream science would care to infer. Thus, the study has come to represent a major battleground for those who question index-managed time and continues to highlight the ongoing argument about the validity of the results obtained from the dating methods through which enlightenment concerning life was forged. Acambaro figures. The Acambaro figures, discovered near Acambaro, Mexico, in 1944 by a man named Waldemar Julsrud, have drawn significant attention for their depiction of humans interacting with dinosaurs. These mysterious clay figurines sparked immediate interest and controversy due to their detailed representations of prehistoric creatures alongside human figures. The figurines appear to challenge the conventional timeline of human history, suggesting that humans and dinosaurs may have coexisted. While critics have dismissed them as fabrications, many supporters argue that mainstream history is incomplete or manipulated, and these artifacts could represent a more complex past. There is the possibility that some proponents are even more interested in the mystery, claiming that these figures may prove the reality of interdimensional or extraterrestrial involvement. The theory posits that aliens capable of time travel might have shared knowledge of the dinosaurs with ancient Central American civilizations. Without scientific consensus on the mysteries of the mbaro figures, however, they are some of the more intriguing and contentious relics. Even today, they exude fascination in both researchers and the public alike, remaining symbols in the unresolved issues in ancient archaeology, as well as with the blurred boundaries of myth and belief and historical record. Stegosaurus in stone relief. At the ancient Ta Prohm temple in Cambodia, a striking carving has stirred intense debate among historians and archaeologists.
Some type of dinosaur. It looks very similar to a Stegosaurus. There's a type of dinosaur.
A relief that many believe resembles a Stegosaurus, a dinosaur thought to have gone extinct over 65 million years ago. This prehistoric-looking figure is nestled among a series of carvings of known animals.
And dinosaurs died 65 million years ago. There's no way.
Raising the question, did ancient artists somehow know what dinosaurs looked like? While critics often dismiss it as a misinterpretation or coincidence, the carving's distinct arched back and plate-like shapes bear an uncanny resemblance to the dinosaur we know from fossil records. Its presence in a centuries-old temple has led some to wonder whether knowledge of dinosaurs survived in oral traditions, or if ancient people might have had first-hand encounters with now extinct creatures. It is said to be odd that the carving looks almost funny, as if it were made to depict either a mythical creature or perhaps just a stylized rhinoceros. For many, such images bring forth questions regarding established timelines of history and provide food for theorists hungry for lost knowledge or forgotten epochs. Nevertheless, the Stegosaurus-like figure at Ta Prohm remains only one of the most conjectured relics in antiquity, caught in that fine line between history and fable. A tribute to either artistic imagination or hard evidence for something far more mysterious. The carving engages tourists and researchers alike in questioning what really ancient civilizations may have known. Fossilized footprints of humans. The discovery of fossilized footprints of ancient humans offers fascinating insight into the possibility that humans may have existed far earlier than traditionally believed. In Laetoli, Tanzania, scientists uncovered preserved footprints in volcanic ash 3.6 million years.
But these, made in volcanic ash, have survived for thousands of years.
These prints are attributed to Australopithecus afarensis, one of humanity's earliest ancestors. The footprints provide a snapshot of early hominid behavior and environment, revealing details about their gait, social dynamics, and adaptation to their surroundings. Although dinosaurs are believed to have gone extinct around 66 million years ago, these ancient human-like tracks invite speculation about what the world was truly like during prehistoric epochs. Mainline science does not argue for the proposition that those early humans coexisted with dinosaurs, but now, with the discovery of such ancient footprints, our already poor understanding of human history becomes blurred. It opens lines of discussion that concern epochal timelines, human evolution, and the ecosystems that once existed. Such fossilized prints stand as solid evidence for ancient hominid life and challenge assumptions about the course and tempo of human evolution. Whatever the interpretation, whether as purely anthropological footprints or, perhaps even more interestingly, documents suggesting a lost chapter of prehistory, these prints rank among the most captivating ancient artifacts. Kachina Bridge, creature carving. At the base of Kachina Bridge in Utah's Canyonlands National Park
is the start of the parking lot in Kachina Bridge. And so Kachina Bridge, apparently you gain.
An array of ancient petroglyphs has sparked fascination and controversy among researchers and enthusiasts. Among the many carvings made by the ancestral Puebloans, one figure stands out, a shape that appears to resemble a dinosaur-like creature, specifically one with a long neck and curved tail. These petroglyphs are believed to be thousands of years old and are located on rock walls that served as cultural canvases for early Native American societies. Visitors to the site often point to this dinosaur-like figure as potential evidence that humans and dinosaurs may have coexisted, or that ancient peoples possessed unexpected knowledge of prehistoric creatures. But the mainstream scientists don't interpret it so. These do appear to be stylized animals, depicted or symbolic representations of certain aspects of Native American spiritual life and culture, rather than depicting an actual dinosaur. Nonetheless, Kachina Bridge petroglyphs still spark curiosity. They stand as a powerful example of how ancient rock art can question our assumptions about history, be it spiritual symbolism, an artistic expression, or something more mysterious. The carvings are windows to early civilizations' minds and beliefs, and perhaps a hint at ancient knowledge lost to time. Dinosaur shapes on cave walls. Across the globe, ancient petroglyphs depicting large reptilian creatures have puzzled researchers and sparked debate. These carvings, often found in remote caves and cliff faces, show figures that some interpret as dinosaurs or giant lizards, suggesting the possibility that humans may have once witnessed or at least imagined such creatures. A notable example comes from the Tassili Najer cave complex in Algeria, where prehistoric rock art includes large reptile-like forms that resemble dinosaurs to modern eyes. While mainstream archaeologists often classify these figures as symbolic or mythical beings, such as dragons, others see them as potential records of actual encounters with surviving dinosaur species or as evidence of deep cultural memory passed through generations. The universality of such carvings calls into question the origins of the myths about dragons and the common visual tongue in which ancient civilizations would speak to each other. It remains rather doubtful, however, that the likeness in the cultural representations has only fed certain speculations on early humans who could have stumbled on fossils or tracks of really big reptiles and brought them to the tape of myth. These dinosaur-like petroglyphs make a little fuzzy the line between history and myth, and cause us to wonder about the sources of some of those ancient accounts. Literal or drawn as symbolic storytelling, however, these carvings pique our curiosity and bring forth questions about the nature of prehistoric art and what possible connections it may have had to creatures of an ancient past. Legends etched in stone. The idea that dragons were inspired by real dinosaurs bridges the gap between ancient mythology and paleontology. Across various cultures, from Europe to Asia, dragons are consistently described as giant, scaled reptiles, often with wings, claws, and the ability to breathe fire. These mythical creatures bear striking similarities to what we now understand as dinosaurs, leading some to propose that early humans, upon discovering fossilized bones or massive footprints, may have interpreted them as evidence of living monsters, thus giving rise to dragon legends. With no scientific understanding of fossils, ancient civilizations likely crafted myths to explain these strange, enormous remains, merging observation with imagination. The theory purports that the very dragons are memories of culture developed from dinosaurs or other gigantic prehistoric reptiles now buried among folklore. Mainstream science attributes dragons to myth-making or symbolic narrative. Nevertheless, the evidence that it was similar dragon images across distant places that suggests a common origin, witnessed perhaps in contact with great remains, adds interesting dimensions to a theory that ties dragons to dinosaurs, which augments our understanding of how human culture evolved with respect to the still mysterious natural world. it has bones and relics into beasts and legends. Klerksdorp spheres. The Klerksdorp spheres, discovered in South Africa, have puzzled scientists and enthusiasts alike for decades. Found in the Klerksdorp region, these small, rounded objects were unearthed from 3-billion-year-old pyrophyllite deposits, a geological context that places them long before the rise of complex life on Earth. Composed primarily of nickel-steel alloy, these metallic spheres are notable for their polished surfaces and the presence of precise, often parallel grooves running along their circumference. Their uniformity and craftsmanship-like features have led some to believe they are not natural formations, but rather the product of intelligent design, a claim that, if verified, would challenge current understandings of ancient history. While most geologists would consider them natural concretions formed by geological work over the eons, others see the spheres as a possible artifact of some lost or unknown civilization. The argument is whether nature could have produced such symmetry and intricately detailed features, especially in rocks that predate known intelligent life. These objects have come to symbolize some of the ancient mysteries that lie in the deep past of our Earth, raising questions as to who or what may have existed long before modern humanity. Geological curiosities or fading remnants of a bygone age, the Klerksdorp spheres remain an interesting case in the field of anomalous archaeology. The beast that time forgot. An intriguing artifact from ancient Kish, a city in Mesopotamia, may point to the unexpected survival of a prehistoric creature thought to have gone extinct over 1 million years ago. The Tium, a colossal giraffid, a copper amulet or ring dated to approximately 3,500 BC, was discovered bearing the image of this long-necked animal. The Tium, which once lived in parts of the Indian subcontinent and Africa from the late Miocene to the early Pleistocene, was believed to have vanished long before recorded history. Yet, the artifact from Kish suggests that this creature may have coexisted with early Sumerians, challenging the accepted timeline of extinction. Further evidence supporting this claim is rock paintings in the Sahara and central West India that show animals with long-necked traits like that of the Tium. These findings suggest that some prehistoric megafauna may have survived for an inordinate amount of time beyond what was traditionally thought to be acceptable, maybe even influx times of early human civilizations. If the Tium is really what the Kish artifact proposed, then theories on species survival and extinction would be shaken, and a new chapter on human beings in connection to some animals once thought to belong to Earth's much distant past would then open. An instance in between archaeology and paleontology thus demonstrates that ancient artifacts might well be speaking of lost natural history. The Barbary Lion. The Barbary Lion, also known as the Barbary Lion, was a massive and majestic predator native to North Africa.
And the pictures and artistic depictions of Barbary lions from North Africa.
Often considered one of the largest and most powerful lion subspecies to have ever lived. Though not a dinosaur, it is often regarded as a descendant of the age of prehistoric giants, sharing the ancient world with early humans and other megafauna. Known for its impressive mane, regal appearance, and formidable size, the Barbary lion played an important role in the cultures of the ancient world. Unfortunately, due to overhunting and habitat destruction, this majestic animal vanished from the wild by 1922, though some individuals continued to survive in captivity. The Barbary lion makes an extremely good cultural and historical connection to humankind, often representing royalty, strength, and the natural superiority of large predators in the ancient past. Extinction in the wild meant the end of an epoch. However, it left an important legacy in mythology and evolutionary history. It had mapped an ancient civilization around itself, and now stands memento regarding the extensive impact of humans on biodiversity created by Earth, and their significant proximity to beings that gave this planet some of its shapes, over the prehistoric and early historic period. The behemoth and tannin. The behemoth and tannin are two powerful creatures mentioned in the Bible, and some believe they could be ancient references to dinosaurs or other prehistoric beasts. The term behemoth is most notably described in the Book of Job, portrayed as a massive, grass-eating land creature with incredible strength, possibly resembling a sauropod dinosaur in its size and tail description. On the other hand, tannin appears in books like Genesis and Isaiah and is often translated as dragon or serpent. These creatures, while typically considered mythological or symbolic in traditional interpretations, have led some researchers to propose that they might actually be ancient cultural memories of real, gigantic reptiles that once roamed the earth. These skeptics point out that the terms in the Bible are purely metaphorical, intended to convey power and chaos rather than any actual creature description. It is also worth stating that the term dinosaur would not have existed prior to the 19th century, and thus prior texts would have made use of alternative terminology such as behemoth and tannin for descriptions of large, mysterious animals. Those espousing the theory would posit that the descriptions may potentially be evidence humans and dinosaurs lived alongside one another, and that the knowledge of such creatures trickled down in oral traditions and sacred texts. Leviathan in the Bible. The Leviathan, described in vivid detail in the Book of Job and mentioned in Psalms and Isaiah, is considered a huge sea monster with armor-like scales, a mouth so big one can enter, and even the ability to breathe fire in the Bible. Seen as an embodiment of chaos and destruction, the Leviathan is putatively conceived by some researchers to have been inspired by the pliosaurs or mosasaurs, whose fossils may have been discovered by ancient peoples. While many see it as mythological or symbolic, others cling to the idea that the Leviathan may represent a cultural memory of real ancient beasts that once reigned over the oceans. We're not done yet. After the Leviathan in the Bible, this next one adds a cosmic twist. Dogon tribe Africa. The Dogon tribe from Mali in Africa has acquired a reputation for maintaining numerous ancient traditions while allegedly possessing advanced astronomical knowledge, especially concerning the early knowledge of the Sirius star system, something which has greatly puzzled scientists for decades. This knowledge, which predated the emergence of modern telescopes by a certain number of centuries, has led some to conjecture that the Dogons might have had contact with some advanced aliens, or perhaps had access to some ancient wisdom. It is interesting to note that in their own folklore and artistic expressions, the Dogon considered the presence of large reptilian creatures, some of which they perceived as prehistoric animals or beings resembling dinosaurs. While a great majority of scholars tend to dismiss those stories as mere symbols, others argue that they might be remnants of a cultural memory with respect to ancient encounters, an additional layer behind the mystery of the Dogon. Dire wolves. Dire wolves were formidable carnivorous mammals that existed during the time of the Pleistocene epoch, having existed together with the earliest human societies for quite a while until they went extinct around 9,500 years ago. Although they seem to resemble modern gray wolves, a DNA analysis conducted in 2021 indicated that dire wolves were actually not closely relational, and their ancestors belonged to a very distinct evolutionary lineage, which has the current relatives within the African jackals. It was an apex predator, hunting large prey all over North and South America, and the relationship between the characteristics of dire wolves and modern wolves suggested they were larger and had stronger muscles than modern animals. Their extinction can probably be attributed to a combination of climate change, loss of large prey, and competition with humans or other predators, rendering them a key piece in the puzzle of prehistoric life. The mammoth. The mammoth in general, particularly the woolly mammoth, was a gigantic behemoth mammal that roamed across North America and Eurasia, and whose existence was vital for early humans until some 4,000 years ago. They had lived through some of the harshest Ice Age climates, where their meat would provide nourishment. The skin could be used for clothing and for shelter, and long bones and tusks would normally be made into tools, weapons, and even constructions such as mammoth bone huts found in parts of Ukraine. The ivory from the tusks of mammoths was also used in spiritual items or artistic carvings. Mammoths were respected by early man, not only because they were useful, but also because of the myths and legends they evoked, power and endurance in prehistoric cultures. Their extinction brought such a close to human history one of its greatest prehistoric companion animals. Mastodon. The mastodon, unique ancestors to elephants, roamed across North America, making it one of the prominent Pleistocene animals, besides being an 8–10 feet tall mammal with long, curved tusks, a humped back, and an outstanding build for cold living environments. Whereas mammoths have teeth suitable for grazing, mastodons were adapted to eat leaves and branches. This species is known not only from fossils, but also from cave paintings at Paleolithic sites, indicating its familiarity with early humans. These hominids might have eaten them and perhaps used their bones and tusks to make tools or structures, hinting at an important aspect of human survival. Perhaps they became extinct due to a combination of climate change and overhunting, making another great species disappear from coexistence with our ancestors. Giant ground sloth. The giant ground sloth is a huge prehistoric mammal that roamed the Americas from 2 to 4 meters tall on its hind legs, reaching total lengths of up to 20 meters. These giant ground sloths were not at all comparable to tree-dwelling sloths of the present. Rather, they were fast and powerful, with claws great enough to dig enormous tunnels known as paleo-burrows, probably used for shelter or breeding. Fossils and rock paintings from South America attest to its presence with early man's interaction. These sloths lived alongside mammoths and giant armadillos as megafauna, forming an integral component of ancient ecosystems. Although it is extinct, the nearest living relatives are its modern three-toed sloths. No one that even comes close to the size or strength of these fabulous ancestors. Thylacine Tasmanian tiger, more correctly known as the thylacine. The thylacine Tasmanian tiger was an exceptional carnivorous marsupial that inhabited Australia, Tasmania, and New Guinea until the early 20th century. It was not a tiger in the true sense of the word.
Oh, there's a weird-looking dog out there.
Having rather been dog-like in appearance and tail, leading it to be called the tiger. Nocturnal by nature, the thylacine preyed upon small mammals, birds, and insects, thereby playing a significant ecological role before its extinction. Following excessive hunting, habitat destruction, and disease, the last known of its kind died in 1936. The thylacine does not date back to the age of dinosaurs and represents one of the significant parts of recent prehistoric wildlife. Its extinction symbolizes the fragility of so many species due to the encroachment of humans. Glyptodon. The Glyptodon is a huge mammal that lived in the Pleistocene epoch, which existed about 2 million years to 10,000 years ago, and in South America with a gigantic armored armadillo, but about the size of a Volkswagen Beetle. Its most unique feature is its dome-like thick shell, which consists of large hexagonal bony plates with substantial protection from predators. Unlike modern armadillos, Glyptodons had conical tails and ridge armor, which made them both a formidable and almost impenetrable animal. Remains and fragments of shells have been found all over the region, attesting to how widespread they were. Though these animals were herbivores, their extinction is thought to be associated with climate changes and hunting by humans, since the early peoples may even have used its durable shells for protection or shelter of survival purposes, attesting to the Glyptodon's significance within the realms of natural history and early human survival. Saber-tooth cat. The saber-tooth cat, which is best embodied by the Smilodon, was a strong Ice Age predator, generally that was known for its long, curled canine teeth and robust body. This creature lived in the Pleistocene epoch, during which it coexisted, in fact, with early hominids while eating herbivores as heavy as giant ground sloths. Those mighty cats were hypercarnivores, basically meat eaters, mostly coming into conflict with early human hunters, and fossil evidence backs this up with injuries and signs of confrontation. With those mighty characteristics, somehow, saber-tooth cats vanished from the landscape, possibly as a result of the combination of continuous climate shifts, dwindling prey populations, and stresses from human hunts. Their striking presence in both the fossil record and prehistoric art reminds us that there is an intricate relationship between humans and huge ancient predators. Avian dinosaur birds. Avian dinosaur birds means, according to modern taxonomy, that birds are the present descendants of dinosaurs, specifically feathered theropods that somehow made it through the mass extinction approximately 66 million years ago. While the majority of the dinosaurs disappeared, some feathered species endowed with certain adaptive traits made their transition into the birds we recognize today. These early birds started to diversify into different habitats, leading to the unprecedented avian adaptive radiation seen today, with innumerable species all over the Earth. This relationship suggests the idea that dinosaurs are completely extinct is false. They are still in our midst, albeit in smaller, feathered forms. In this way, birds serve as a living link with prehistoric ecosystems, letting us understand how some organisms survived one of the biggest extinction events on Earth. Marco Polo's prehistoric encounter. The strange and terrifying creature, which almost intrigued the researchers and enthusiasts, was one that Marco Polo had encountered in his 13th century travel writings on his journey through the Gobi Desert. The traveler spoke of a creature having the body like a slender worm, with a huge crocodile head and a serpentine tail. And these features have made some people say that the description might fit a creature resembling a prehistoric reptile or dinosaur. Although, of course, there is no physical evidence either to confirm Polo's account. Such a particular, vivid description might, in many speculators' minds, lead to the conclusion that he either saw a living ancient creature or had heard accurately preserved local legends grounded in fossil finds. Scholarship tends to dismiss it as myth or misinterpretation, yet Polo's recording remains a striking instance of how early explorers' observations could finally reflect lost knowledge or encounters with important fragments of a prehistoric past. The Aurochs. The Aurochs, more precisely called the Aurochs, was a massive, now extinct species of wild ox that once inhabited an area stretching from Europe to Asia and North Africa, alongside prehistoric humans and other megafauna. Known as a direct ancestor of all modern cattle, the Aurochs was stocky in build with long, forward-curving horns, a creature that stood out in any ancient landscape. Although it was not a dinosaur, the Aurochs lived during the time of large prehistoric animals and was prominently present in early human societies, giving its impressions in cave paintings such as those at Lascaux in France. These very paintings tell the story of how Aurochs became a part of early human social and sustenance practices before ever disappearing due to overhunting and environmental upheaval. Don't relax just yet. The top discovery could flip your understanding of the ancient world upside down. Ica stones. The Ica stones are an assortment of carved implements of controversial provenance found in Ica,
photographed some 100 of it in a collection in the city of Ica,
Peru, and brought to light in 1961 by a farmer named Javier Cabrera. The stones exhibit detailed engravings of scenes depicting humans interacting with dinosaurs, scenes such as these that contradict any conventional timeline of history. A local teacher, Dr. Cabrera,
and there was an old Professor Dr. Cabrera. The Indians brought him stones.
Collected hundreds of these stones, which the indigenous from all around Peru took to him. While many scientists have brushed these off as modern forgeries, some argue that they may represent lost chapters in human history. suggesting that ancient peoples perhaps possessed knowledge, if not first-hand experience, of creatures they had thought to be extinct. Regardless of their origin, though, the Ica stones continue inciting controversy, leaping over and blurring the boundaries between mythology, archaeology, and an unexplained past. Thanks for watching. If this video sparked your curiosity, don't forget to like, comment with your thoughts, and subscribe for more mind-bending discoveries from the ancient world. Do you have a favorite find from the list? Let us know below. And if you're ready to dive even deeper, click on the next video on your screen. You won't want to miss it.